Gentlemen, they gave me a list here. The first person I was instructed to call on was Kelly O'Donnell of NBC.
Say what? Did you hear what I just heard from President Biden? Let me play it one more time so we can get it clear. I want you to really listen closely.
Gentlemen, they gave me a list here. The first person I was instructed to call on was Kelly O'Donnell of NBC.
Now here the president is addressing the nation after 13 that we know so far Marines were killed in Afghanistan, these suicide bombers. And after he makes his solemn remarks, he states that he was instructed to call on a certain reporter first. Instructed. So my question is this: who the hell's in charge? I mean, I thought Jane Psaki, or whatever the heck her name was his press secretary. So maybe he's press secretary for somebody else. I mean, who's in charge? I mean, listen to it one more time.
Gentlemen, they gave me a list here. The first person I was instructed to call on was Kelly O'Donnell of NBC.
He's sitting over here talking about he's instructed. I thought he was president. I thought he was the commander in chief. I thought he was the head of the United States of America. I thought he was the person that 81 million Americans supposedly voted for. And we got this guy who's taking instruction from somebody else. This man that looks like he can half walk, half talk, and look like he needs oxygen all the time. This is our leader. Yeah, and then he complains about he had to evacuate because of the policy that Trump said. Well, by his own admission, he said Trump's mandate was for May the 1st. Who was president May the 1st? It wasn't Trump. I mean, during the last 18 months of Trump's presidency, not one American serviceman was killed because the Taliban knew better. Trump would have fed them fear and death. Biden is sitting over here looking for the Taliban to help shore up our lines, to protect the perimeter around the airport. This is insanity. And then he makes this deadline of August 31st when he doesn't even know how many Americans are still left in Afghanistan. He snuck out in the middle of the night without notifying his allies who came to Afghanistan after we went there to support us. And he left and didn't even tell them he was leaving then, let alone the American people. This stuff, it would be a comic book if it wasn't real. It's so ridiculously crazy, it's hard to fathom. He left $81+ million, billion dollars worth of equipment. I mean, helicopters, tanks, Humvees, over, arms. I think he left, what did they say, 16,000 night goggles? And then a massive amount of ammunition and grenades and weapons. Is he president of the Taliban or the United States of America? Why didn't we remove our equipment before we left? Or blow up what we weren't going to take? Why would we sit over there and leave and working order equipment to our enemies, and not only the Taliban, but the Chinese is going to come in there and they're going to reverse engineer our technology. I mean, Biden has lost his mind, or his generals, or all of them. This is traitorous. But since he's not in charge, we need to find out who the heck is in charge and calling these shots. I mean, this is ridiculous. He's instructed. Yeah, that means he's not the boss. That means he's working for somebody else. That means all you folks that voted for this man are not don't even know who's running the show, because we don't know who's running the show. But whoever's running the show is ridiculous and should be impeached and removed from government. Because you're gonna leave Americans stranded, you're gonna supply arms and ammunition to our enemy, and on top of that, he gave them a kill list. He gave them a list of the Americans that he believes are still in Afghanistan and Afghans who helped America. If he's been paying any kind of attention to the news, they're talking about the Afghans don't even want to let any Afghans leave. And I'm sure they want to take care of folks that helped America for the last 20 years. And when I say take care of them, I mean put them to death. So now they'll start marrying little girls again and start chopping off heads. And who knows? And I can just see it right now. We leave August 31st, by 9/11, we might start seeing Americans beheaded in videos. And they'll say it's ISIS, not them. And who knows? Because the Americans that Joe left behind, that said that he believed they wanted to stay or whatever, or who's ever running Joe left behind. Folks, if we can survive this mess, we need to get rid of the Democrats in the midterm elections. We need to get a majority of the Congress, and we need to get 2/3 of the Senate, because we need to get him out of there. I mean, they were left with Kamala, who laid her way to the top. And then all she does is laugh. I mean, this is what you get when you don't think about what the country needs, and you're going for all this gender equality or trying to get a person of color or just trying to get Orange Man Bad out of the office. Well, one thing about Trump, he may have had some nasty tweets here and there, but he took care of the American people and he took care of the American soldiers. We had the best economy in the world. Now we got staggering inflation. We got high prices, high gas. I mean, Joe cut off our gas. Joe killed the pipeline, but then he let Russia start getting their pipeline. Now our gas is over $1 more than what we were paying before he came in the office. But Joe did do one thing. Joe increased food stamps to the highest level ever. So think about that. The highest level ever of food stamps. All that is giving people a gigantic governmental mammary gland to suck on. Do you want people stuck on the government? If you're stuck on the government, then the government owns you. Instead of let people take care of themselves, do for themselves, and live like free Americans. I don't know about you folks, but I've had enough of this. And it's not even been a year. It's not even been a year. We need to make sure that we find out what happened with these elections, get all that mess cleared up, get these midterms straightened up, and start working on to get some folks that know what the heck they're doing. I remember the news media talking about, well, now the adults are in charge. Really? Well, if the adults are in charge now, we were better off with the kids running the show. We were much better off under Trump than we are now. This is Sam Tolley. I don't know who the heck is running the show. Who's running the show, Joe? I'm out.